Littleton Public Schools is a dynamic and highly respected district serving approximately 13,000 students. The LPS Toddcast with Superintendent Todd Lambert is a venue for us to tell you all about the news, initiatives, events, and people who make up the LPS story.
Hi there, this is Todd Lambert, Superintendent of Littleton Public Schools, and we want to welcome you to the very first Toddcast. We're excited to be able to offer this to you periodically, every now and then, share some information that we think is important and maybe just have a lot of fun. Here's my sidekick, John Levesque, Chief Financial Officer for Littleton Public Schools. I could tell you a lot about John, but he'll do it better. John, tell him about yourself.
Thanks, Todd.
Yeah.
Been with the district for 14 years. Also, a little bit longer than that, I'm a product of Littleton Public Schools, coming up through Wilder, Goddard, and Littleton.
I think I meet people every day that work in Littleton that also went to school here. And the pride that's here and the pride they have in Littleton, the way they serve their students is just amazing. And I know that's something that is important to you too. I watch you in the community and am amazed at how many people you know. And then I realize you're from here. Relationships from the past, friends you've made, and it's just such a great thing. And I'm proud in Littleton that we have so many of our alumni here to serve our kids.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic.
How about a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, the second year as the superintendent in Littleton. I'm originally from the state of Indiana, born and raised there, lived the first 40-some years of my life there. Proud Hoosier, but now we're here in Colorado and just love it. Second year again as the superintendent, my 32nd year in public education. Wow. And my background, I came up as an elementary teacher, an elementary assistant principal, an elementary principal, and then I'm on the curriculum side. So I was a curriculum director and then ultimately an assistant sup for elementary schools. And this is my fourth year as a superintendent, and again, second in LPS.
Wow, so you've seen a little bit of everything.
I have, and if it helps, I have a daughter who's in her first year of teaching. She's a proud graduate of Indiana University. She teaches in Dougco as a first grader, and my first grade teacher. She's not a first grader. She teaches first graders. And my wife, Tricia, is a fourth grade teacher, also down in Dougco, teaches at El Dorado Elementary. My mom was an elementary teacher for 35 years. So definitely my mom, my wife, and my daughter are all teachers. And then to top it all off, my dad was a high school principal and a central office administrator before he retired.
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Keeping it in the family.
We definitely are.
Well, so to start off, we wanted to have a little bit of an icebreaker between the two of us.
Sounds good.
So, kind of an old age question. What is your favorite fictional character and why?
Wow, fictional characters. I think about them in TV, movies, and books, but I think the first one that comes to mind that means a lot to me comes from a book called The Outsiders. Many people in our audience read The Outsiders. S.E. Hinton wrote The Outsiders. And Ponyboy Curtis is probably the fictional character I love the most. Most people know it from the movie, but the book is phenomenal. I still remember the line, right, when I stepped into the bright light or bright sunlight out of the movie house. The only things on my mind were Paul Newman and a ride home. I probably butchered the lines, but I think that's the first line of the book and also the last line of the book. Oh, how about you? Do you have one?
I do.
Yeah?
It's more tempered towards the time of year right now, right before Halloween.
Right.
But I've always loved To Kill a Mockingbird. A lot of good characters in there.
Sure.
But Boo Radley.
Boo Radley.
A lot of mystery around Boo Radley during the book. Comes out as a little bit of a hero at the end. And so when I was thinking about this a little bit, that's what I came up with. Book by Harper Lee back in the 60s.
You bet.
It's been a favorite for a while.
Did you ever see the movie?
I have. Actually, you know what? I've seen the play, too. It's been on some local stages. So
Yeah.
there.
I don't know if you caught the movie. Actually, Boo, the actor that played Boo is a famous actor now over time, but not so much at the time. Do you remember who that was?
I think so.
Yeah?
Robert Duvall. Is
Robert
that right?
Duvall, I believe, played Boo in the actual movie. Yeah, with all the other folks. But yeah, Jim and Scout. What a great story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got a few initiatives happening in Littleton.
I'm sorry. No, I'm just kidding.
brought by you.
Yeah, right.
I will say. But tell me what aspiring admin means to you.
Oh, no, thanks for asking that. Last year, let me back up. We recognized in the field that there aren't as many educators getting into the field of administration as there used to be. In fact, I would say there's a scarcity at this point. Number of applicants, it's hard work, and it's just something that not as many people are interested in today as they might have been back when I was starting to prepare. Knowing that, we also recognize that we have an abundance of talent in the teaching force here in Littleton. Super talented people. Many of them we discovered had actually begun the process of getting their admin license. They were working on their masters, and we wanted to give them something to look forward to. So last year we started what we call Cohort 1 of aspiring administrators, and we put something out. We had no idea what kind of response we would get. So I put an email out and just asked who would be interested in 3 to 4 sessions a year put on by our leadership team, our soup staff, as well as our LST and different groups that are out there, and just to see how many were interested. I was hoping for 20. We got 31. And the cool thing about it, not only did we get 31, we had teachers from elementary, we had teachers from middle, and we had high school, and we also had charter representatives. So it's such an eclectic group to come together. And what we did with them was we just talked about the values of administration, what we were looking for, what the job entailed, the good, bad, and the ugly. And you were part of one of the sessions that I think we got so much good feedback. We actually asked them as we were working with them, we said, we want to introduce you to a broader range of administration than just being a building principal, right? I think a lot of times when people think about getting prepared, they think of themselves just in that principal role or assistant principal role. So we had all the leadership around the table. We had the CFO like you, we had human resources, we had our directors that are out there that do different things that are not just principal jobs, and we asked them to explain to the group how they got there. That was super interesting to that group, and we found out later. So we had Cohort 1 last year. Of that 31, I think we ended the year with 29 who stuck with it. And of those 29, I believe 3 of them got admin jobs outside of the district. So we're proud of them. We're happy for them. Maybe we gave them that last little push to get them there. Now this year, we're going to have year 2 for Cohort 1. We don't want to have a cohort every single year or we'll cut our numbers down. We want to try to build up some anticipation. But year 2, we have about, like I said, about 24 or 25 left, and most of them have shown an interest in doing something this year. So what we're going to do is we're going to offer them a list of administrators who are willing to work with them. They can shadow them, they can ask questions, and we'll probably do a little project. We have talked to some of the folks that are in aspiring admin, and some of them are even interested in finance. I know. I mean, who knew?
We'll welcome them.
Yeah, I know you will.
I question their judgment.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm saying. But nonetheless, we have them interested in that. We have them interested in student support, HR, special education. And we think this is a great way to give those employees who are interested in this type of work a really vivid look. And maybe they decide they like this, they don't like this. We get some experimental work in there. So what they'll do this year is they'll lock into the administrator level or the job description that they like. And we'll do some shadowing, some interviewing, and maybe even a special project. Next year in 25-26, we'll have Cohort 2, and I have heard from at least a dozen teachers already that that's something they want to participate in. Now, does that mean that they have to be an administrator or they're dead set on doing that? Of course not. There were some folks in there that after they got done said, I don't think this work is for me. That's a great thing to discover in the moment. So we're really happy, and we want to try to find as many things to engage our workforce as possible. So we're excited about Aspiring Administrators Group 1, and next year putting that second cohort out.
Yeah, I think that 2-year span is really important to understand because there's so much to review.
Right.
And so many options, like you're saying. The traditional path is not the only path.
That's exactly right.
And then to get the experience and say, is this for me?
Right.
Right. So that's really important.
I think I saw your name on the list for this year. Is that true?
To sponsor some, yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I'm all in.
That's very good. We're looking forward to that.
Yeah. So on our next initiative, when I say scorecard, what does that bring up?
I think for most people, it's say they hope they break 100 on their golf score.
Well, I would say mini golf, but yeah.
Right. It means a little bit different here. When I got here, one of the great things about Littleton is that we have a board that sets our aspirational priorities and our goals. And they're great about that. They understand that their purpose in the system, in addition to monitoring the system and doing the great work that school boards do, another part of that is to set the vision and the work there. And the board set 7 priorities as well as a overarching priority. So when I got here, they were organized a little differently. We had some of them together that maybe didn't match. The priorities themselves were outstanding. And so what we did this year, we worked together as a team, the 5 board members and me, and we reorganized them and went from 5 to 7. We didn't add any, we just clarified them and got them organized. And I think the key point is that two key features of our priorities, and then I'll go to the scorecard. One of them is all of our priorities, whether they're about finance, HR, protecting our assets, you name it, this comprehensive look at the system, all of that work is geared toward the single most important priority of Littleton Public Schools, and that is 100% of our graduates are prepared for their post-secondary opportunities. I've said many times in the last 5 months, the litmus test of a successful school district is the preparedness of its graduates. And so all that work is aimed up the line to support that final part when they graduate. We always like to say students are great, graduates are better. So we want to get to that point. Fortunately, we have a lot of success in this area. We currently have a 92.6 graduation rate, which is one of the highest in the state for our high schools collectively here. But a scorecard, back to that. With those priorities, one of the things I asked when I first got here is, how are we doing and how do we know? And those are simple questions at face value, but they're a little bit complex when you start to think about how you share that information. And so what I felt we needed was a scorecard, and that really is simply, with those 7, 8 priorities, with the overarching priority of 100%, we wanted to have some key metrics that answered those questions. How are we doing and how do we know? So once those priorities were established and set up, we as a soup staff team, as well as some others, picked out what we thought were the best signals or indicators to answer those questions. And so we put those into something we call a scorecard. And I'm pretty excited because last Thursday night was the culmination of several months of hard work where the team decided on those metrics, how they put them together, what they meant. And I was excited to put that in front of the board. I actually got to sit down in the hot seat. If you remember, usually I get to sit up at the dais right up above people. And you don't realize when you sit down in that chair, they're looking right down at you. It's a little nerve-wracking. But we shared those metrics with the board, and it was something they've been excited about, and they've been a tremendous part of that. Our goal was to use that scorecard, again, to answer those questions, how are we doing and how do we know, but also where we put our emphasis. And the next step for us is to take our soup staff team and identify within that data where are our hottest buttons, where do we have our most pressing issues, with the priority, of course, on students. Again, that scorecard is comprehensive in a sense that it speaks to all of our systems, but the most important system it speaks to is the learning of our students, right? So we are going to take the 5 or so that we think stand out the most, and we're going to get in some short cycle improvement plans to really make a difference in those areas. We'll have some 30, 60, 90-day plans, and the idea being is if we intervene and get movement there, those long-term numbers will look really good. Yeah. First time we've done this. We're not perfect at it. We've got some partners that are helping us out. You've been a huge part of that work, John, and it's changing the way we look at things. And remember, we look at data, not just to look at numbers. We look at data to make decisions. Sometimes the decision is everything's working well and we're not going to change anything. Sometimes the decision is we need to act. We're going to find that out here, and we're going to move the needle on some things that really matter to kids.
That's really exciting. So you went in front of the board on October 24th.
Right, last Thursday.
That can be seen on our board docs on our website.
Right.
But then when do you see this going live to the public?
Yeah, there's a little bit of touch-up we're going to wrap up on here this week. I would anticipate that we'll have it ready to go no later than Friday, November 9th.
Okay.
So that'll be a week from this Friday. We'll get into the 9th. I think we can have it live as early as next Tuesday or so. Just a few more touch-up items, and it'll be ready to go. And we're eager for our community to take a look. I think another part of a scorecard, high-performing school districts are unafraid to share their data, good or bad. And we want to make sure our community understands, in a community like Littleton that has high expectations for our teachers, our kids, our schools, that we share that data, not because that we're worried about it. We share it because we want people to know what we're working on. And a lot of our data in a high-performing district like Littleton looks great, right? I mean, we have so much performance data that looks wonderful. Our graduation rate I mentioned is fantastic. And with all that being said, we're not perfect. We have some areas where we need to work, particularly in proportionality, meaning what does the balance look like when you talk about access to our classes, academic performance, some of those kind of things, discipline. Those things matter, and our caring adults in our schools pay attention to this all the time. They live this day to day. We just want to provide the resources and support and inject some additional enthusiasm into trying to solve some of those difficult problems that a lot of districts never get on top of. The good thing we have going for us is we also have a school board that is unafraid to share our data. They welcome the idea of putting that out there transparently because of the joy that's going to come when we move that needle. And so we're excited about doing that work.
And so the scorecard is going to be somewhat of a snapshot, right, of a point in time.
Right.
And we've been working on these items prior, but we're going to continue to work on and focus on those going forward.
We are, and I'll tell you, one way that the community will see some growth in this area, a lot of school measures are annual. When you think about when we give PSAT, when we do CMAS, and when we do some of those, so our teachers, we see those our teachers collect a lot more than just that, right? Our public sees those annual measures, but our teachers are grinding that out every single day. Our teachers are much more in a formative mode. So what we want to do as a senior leadership team is get a little more toward the formative side. So some of the measures that our people will see in the scorecard, again, most of them are annual, but some of them are monthly, and some of them are going to be a little faster than that. And we'll start to build those habits as a team. And our goal would be that by next year, more of our data points would be more formative in nature and updated more frequently as opposed to what we have to start out with.
Well, very good. Yeah. So that second week or that first week in November, we're looking at seeing it come live. So that's
I'm
exciting.
pretty proud of it. I think people are going to really like how it plays out.
So last initiative I want to talk about is I understand that we have our preschool, our kindergarten, up through first and all the way to 12th, and even some students past that.
Right.
Let's talk about students or children that are 1 to 3 years old.
Wow, you're pulling on my heartstrings now. This is something I really like to talk about. You know, we are thrilled with the preschool experience our students have. For those out there, in Littleton, we roughly have about 1,000 students per grade level now, give or take a few on either end. Our bigger classes are on the higher end, juniors and seniors. Our kindergarten classes, early primary grades are somewhere between 900 and 1,100 somewhere. So roughly 30% of any kindergarten class we have, they participated in our preschool. The other 70% were in private schools. Some of them do preschool through their churches. Some of them have private providers, any number of ways, and they all converge on kindergarten. But we're really pleased with what we offer in our preschool level. What we're really trying to do now is we recognize through the research that the very best time to intervene on behalf of a child when we're talking about building their vocabulary, their confidence, their ability to think like a mathematician, their comfort with school, their social interactions is ages 1 through 3. And so what we're going to do is we put a team together, and we have named this the Family Learning Center. And this work is going to start on the first day of school next year, the first day of the 25-26 school year, and it'll take place at our East Community Center. And what we're going to be doing is working with 1 to 3-year-olds in the community, and we're going to take them through a set of tiers of instruction to really get them ready for preschool, right? A lot of times people think, wow, you're intervening at age 3, that's super early. In my world, that might be just slightly too late. If we really want to make the difference. And so our real goal here, we have an end in mind. And the end in mind is that we are going to increase the percentage of kindergarten students who are prepared to learn their grade level standards on the first day of school. So this isn't a kindergarten teacher endeavor. I mean, they're going to be the receiving end of this work. And we're really going to focus on vocabulary building, thinking like a mathematician, and really getting them comfortable in the school space, including their parents. And so what we'll do, we envision that for our younger students, we'll bring them in and start taking them through the tiers like phonemic awareness. We'll probably take some field trips. We'll start associating colors and sounds and words and trying to do some great modeling for them. As they come up through, we'll start to talk about phonics. And our goal will be to really have them ready to go on that first day of preschool. And if by chance they don't participate in preschool with us, they're prepared for those experiences wherever they go.
Yeah, it's a win-win.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it really is. I think it's a huge win for our community. We have great results. And at the same time, we know that when you take 2 kids on the first day of kindergarten and one of them has a vocabulary of 800 to 1,000 words, and they're sitting next to a child that has 400, 350, 400 words, same IQ, same capabilities. That student that has that high level of vocabulary, we can launch them at a much faster pace. They have confidence. They can embrace the skills that are needed to learn how to read faster. We want to get the other students that don't have those opportunities and maybe didn't have that background and that literate, rich experience. We want to get them involved and get them on the same line. So when they start kindergarten, they can come through our system and access the full array of curriculum all the way until they graduate successfully.
So an early point of exposure.
Yes.
Opportunity.
Yes.
Very good.
Looking forward to it.
Great.
You should come over sometime.
Oh, I will.
Yeah.
I will. So those were our initiatives, and I kind of want to just talk to the folks out there that are listening and watching. We want to hear your feedback, right? And so there is a URL that will be part of our description in this in the podcast, and it is tinyurl.com/LPS podcast feedback. And so if you find that, click that or type that in, and you can send us any questions, any comments, any suggestions. We'd love to hear those.
How are they going to remember that? I don't remember that. I got to see it. I need to click a link. Is there any way they're going to see it?
It will be in the description. Then it'll also be on your website,
Really?
on our main website under the
all
superintendent.
right.
So
All right, very good.
They can do that.
Very good.
So some past things that have happened in the district are kind of fun to talk about.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the Littleton Public School Foundation Stride, the race, the fundraiser.
How about we talk about Littleton Public Schools Foundation first?
Okay.
A lot of people, I think, are unaware of the contributions the foundation makes all over this system, right? They see these fundraisers, and I'm sure they know they support our schools, but there are things that would not happen for staff and kids in this district if it wasn't for our foundation.
Yeah.
Steph Carroll, who's in her second year, she and I came on at the same time, has done a great job with it. I don't know if people remember, but last year we didn't have a stride. The Friday before, we had an unusual snowstorm. If I remember correctly, I think we even took off of school, but we definitely had bad weather. And I remember on the phone with Steph at the last minute because nobody wanted to cancel such a great event. It's a great fundraiser. And even though we had collected the money already for the entries, it still isn't the same until you get out there and have the stride, the event. So this year was my first one, and just a couple of days ago, and I'm not sure we could have had better weather. The coordination of it was fantastic. It got going about 7:30. We had a 10K race and had some really competitive runners this year. I had a fun time starting them off, and then after that, it got more my speed, which was the 5K walk. There was a 5K run. They looked a little zealous to me, so we stayed in the back and we just walked that thing through. But it was a great event. McDonald Automotive, I believe, is one of the sponsors, and we have a couple other ones. I'm probably missing one right now, so don't quote me. But they have been so generous with their support, whether it's just to make the whole experience fantastic. So my first stride, Steph's first stride, some others' first stride was just a wonderful event.
Yeah, I was out there too.
You sure
I was
were.
a course marshal. They gave me some authority.
Yeah.
I didn't go over the overboard or anything
You
like
didn't
that.
get intoxicated by
No,
your authority?
But it was fun seeing people out there enjoying the weather.
was.
It was beautiful.
It was. I agree.
We also just had our Wellness Expo and Job Fair actually yesterday. You want to talk about that?
Yeah, I was blown away. You know, it's something that the Human Resources Department, led by Dr. Sherry Charles, our Assistant Superintendent for Human Resources, something that her and the team have been planning for a while. We know that there is, in addition to the shortage of administrators, teachers, there is a very real shortage in attracting classified workers. There's so much competition out there, right, for their time and their talents. But the job fair was fantastic. So we had a combination. We had opportunity for those who might be interested in doing work for us, whether it's in transportation, special education, all different areas of the organization, or if there were community things that they wanted to learn about that were health driven, right? We had Cigna there, we had Kaiser there, we had our insurance providers. And so it was a little bit of something for everyone. And I understand from our transportation group as well as from some of our student support groups that we had some promising applicants. And that's wonderful for our kids because our classified staff are the backbone of our work. We couldn't go on without them. And so to entice more to come in and join the LPS family was really great. I think a special plug to the HR team. They looked like a team yesterday. The energy they had, you could tell how coordinated they were. It was fantastic.
And I saw a few people actually filling out applications real time there.
Right.
We had stations for them. And then also, if anybody's interested, they can still go to our website, go to our jobs list, and apply there as well.
Yeah, we love
that's
them to join
always
our
yeah
family.
that's always the most up to date. So that's
sure.
where you go from there. I have a few upcoming events.
Do you?
You want to hear about those?
You know I do.
So one of my favorite during the year, actually sponsored by the foundation as well, is the Poetry Slam on November 19th at 6:30 p.m. at Options High School.
Poetry Slam?
Yeah, it's really cool. It
Sounds
is
dangerous.
high school students. No. High school students performing poetry, but very emotional, very outgoing poetry that brings tears to your eyes, makes you laugh a little bit. And so there's a lot of fun that night. I've judged it in the past.
Right.
That was a little tough. It was very high tense moments there, but did that. And then I know you were there last year.
I was blown away. We have amazing kids.
Right?
Yeah, it's and last year when I saw some of them stand up there, I was blown away at their vulnerability. They would, you could feel their emotions in their poetry, and it was fantastic. And I've run into several of them since then, and it's just a great way to break that ice. But again, we have amazing kids, and I know Nate Thompson that works with us. He does a lot with that, and the staff at Options is fantastic. They just do a great job sponsoring it.
They do, yeah.
Right.
And then we also have upcoming is our high school showcase nights.
Okay.
So if you are a 7th grader or 8th grader, kind of interested to start understanding the high school options in Littleton, go to those websites, Heritage, Arapahoe, Littleton, and Options. You can find all the information out on the website.
We're lucky. I think we have something for everyone.
Yeah. And again, if keep up to date on our website for any announcements and upcoming events.
Right.
That's the place to go, other than Toddcast.
Other than the Toddcast.
Just to repeat that feedback link, it'll be in our description, and please feel free to provide us any feedback and any information that you would like.
Question.
What's up?
Do we take hard questions or just easy questions?
We'll take any question, right?
All right, yeah, why
I
not?
think so.
Why not?
I think we can handle it.
How hard could it be?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, we've come to the end of this Toddcast.
Okay.
But let's talk about next Toddcast.
Okay. This was the first one, and I said that at the beginning. This is the first one. We're kind of going through it, but I think we're doing great.
I've had fun.
Yeah, me too. All right.
Well, let's talk about next time.
All right.
Weather's changing.
It sure is.
We talked about a little bit of weather with Stride, so we're going to talk in depth about decision of making a snow day or calling a snow day.
Sure.
We're going to have a guest, our Chief Operating Officer, Brad Leitner.
Brand new this year
Yeah,
to the job.
in that role. Yeah,
In that role.
and so he'll come and help explain his part in it. But you also serve a large role.
I do.
As well as many others in the district.
I think people will be surprised how many people are actually involved in that decision.
I am really excited actually to hear it in detail. So,
well, you know what people end up getting is when I make the call, right at the very end. But the reality of that is that is a lot of collaborative effort to get us to that point. And interestingly enough, when I go out into the schools and I get into a classroom, and I love getting out into our classrooms, especially at the elementary level. You know, a teacher will introduce me, or we'll have something like that, and they'll say, "Do you have any questions that you want to ask the superintendent?" The number one question always has to do with inclement weather and how I call snow days and whether I call them or not, and then of course the pitch for more snow days.
more snow days. Well, we'll see.
Yeah.
I always enjoy seeing the snow day actually called on my local news when you see the name.
Did you love it on the crawl there? There's just something
that's
about the
when
energy
I feel
of
official.
that.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's good.
You know something else? Snow days. A lot of people ask about snow days, and since COVID time, there have been thoughts about could you maximize snow days with online and some of that stuff. I gotta admit, I'm old fashioned. I think a snow day is a snow day. I like a snow day. We don't get many of those perks as the year goes on. It's such a grind from beginning to end for our teachers, our kids, our families. And every now and then, and we only have a few a year, I'm a big believer that you just get out and enjoy them.
Yeah. Well, let's save all the detail for next time.
There you
teaser.
go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Well, on behalf of Dr. Todd Lambert and myself, thank you for joining us, and keep learning.